Welcome back to Market on Close. We got some time until the bell here. Let's zoom out and talk big picture with Michelle Gibley and Michael Townsend as we assess policy and international markets heading into the end of the year. How's the fallout been over the last couple months or couple weeks, Mike, from your point of view on policy, kind of formation and groundwork being laid?
Yeah, Oliver, I think we're looking at maybe investors underestimating a little bit how difficult some of these big sweeping policies that the incoming Trump administration is promising are going to be to actually put into practice. And, we need details. We need details on tariffs. We need details on what direction they're going to go on taxes. We need details on how they're going to do mass deportations. All of that, I think the market is kind of waiting for. I think the market right now is definitely giving Trump the benefit of the doubt that this is all going to be positive. But, there's real concern in some areas that some of these policies could be inflationary. I also think people are underestimating a little bit, how the narrow margins in Congress, particularly in the House of Representatives, are going to make this more difficult than it might otherwise be to get this stuff in. It's going to take a little time and a lot of negotiation, even in an all-Republican Congress, because the margins are so narrow. So lots to watch for as the new year comes around. Is there anything that has whose probabilities have skewed higher or dramatically lower in the last few weeks? Any policy ideas? I know there were a few picks that flopped, but as far as a policy, I guess maybe it still is too early to kind of know which way odds are bending on some of them. Yeah, I think we're watching first, as you mentioned, some of these confirmations, I think, are going to be maybe not completely smooth. It does look like the Defense Secretary nomination, Pete Hegseth, is trending in the right direction. He's had a lot of one-on-one meetings with senators who are going to end up having to vote for him. But a couple others could be challenging. But there's a sense that in the Senate that they want to give Trump the sort of, again, the benefit of the doubt. He should be able to pick who he wants for some of these positions. So, like I said, I think tariffs is going to be a big one to watch to see what the details are. I think we saw when the president-elect talked about putting tariffs on imports from Canada and Mexico, we saw a quick reaction from Canada. I mean, the prime minister flew to Mar-a-Lago in Florida to meet with the president-elect. And so I think that's indicative of maybe there's some degree of sort of a strategy around negotiation and threatening that may mean the actual tariffs are maybe less than we think. Okay. Michelle, how much of the international calculus right now depends on which policies fall into place here stateside?
I think it does matter somewhat. I think you're probably going to see a little bit of a headwind to growth, but we don't think it's going to be perhaps as bad as the dire headlines seem to indicate, as was mentioned by Mike. Some of these tariffs are, maybe more the opening bid and the worst case scenario won't happen. Also, we could have currency impacts offsetting some of those tariffs. If you have a higher price on a good because of a tariff, you probably would have less demand for it. And so the currency actually of the other importing good goes down. So, for example, during the first trade war under the Trump administration in 2018 to 2019, tariffs on Chinese goods rose 16%, but the yuan fell 14%, offsetting almost all of the increase. So the impact, it might be less than what people expect.
Okay. Michelle, thinking about the Fed versus the rest of the world, the dollar still is remaining pretty big, even as the cut for December gets locked in. Just how aggressive are these other central banks getting to cut, in particular, I guess, the ECB?
Yeah, we have the ECB tomorrow. Today, we had the Bank of Canada cut by 50 basis points. Now, inflation there has stayed around 2% since the summertime. Unemployment has jumped, though, and so that gave them the reason to go by 50. In the Eurozone, inflation recently increased, so they're more likely to do 25 tomorrow than 50. But growth is slowing, and there's a concern that inflation could overshoot to the downside. So we could get a 50 basis points cut there sometime in coming months.
Wow.
In Germany next week, we have a no confidence vote. And so we have some changes happening in both France and Germany that could result in less fiscal spending cuts. So a little bit more fiscal spending overall, and that could boost growth. Eurozone stocks are really kind of hated. They're trading at 40% discount to the S&P 500.
Wow. Always find the international valuation stats compelling. Mike, give me a closing quick thought here. One for the crypto folks. Paul Atkins is the SEC pick. Is he the type of guy to put Bitcoin on the balance sheet, or is he more just the type of guy to not aggressively try and go after businesses?
Yeah, and look, solid pick. I think Wall Street is really, really happy with the pick. I think Atkins is a known quantity. He was an SEC commissioner in the George W. Bush administration. People know him. He is not a kind of burn it all down guy. He's more of a deliberative, thoughtful guy. Only need regulation if it's necessary. And I think the crypto industry is really, really excited about it because he's gonna. They want regulation in terms of having a regulatory framework. I think everybody agrees that we need those kind of parameters, but we need to define it really clearly. And I think he's going to be great at doing that. I think the crypto guys are going to be very, very happy with the outcome.
All right. Thanks, team. Great analysis. Very helpful. Mike Townsend, Managing Director of Legislative and Regulatory Affairs, and Michelle Gibley is the Director of International Research at Charles Schwab.